Good morning. I am Kevin Price. Delighted to be with you. Going to spend some time talking to you about you and your business. You know, Marc Krasney, he's a regular here on The Price of Business. He's with the Krasney, Krasney law firm, KrasneyLawFirm.com. And he's got a unique business model that I think really resonates with business owners out there. And we always like to get him on to talk about different things pertaining to the law to help you and your business. Mark, good to talk to you today.
Same here. Thanks, Kevin.
Kind of give us the elevator speech, if you will, about the Krasney Law Firm.
Well, we started back in 2007 at the request of many of our clients who were really honestly sick of getting surprise legal hourly bills. You know, they all had issues, problems, contracts to review, and they need to reach out to a legal resource. They'd use my law firm at the time, and, you know, they'd get the bill a month and a half later and go, oh, my God, didn't realize. And then that would translate into, well, let's just not call Mark, or, you know, let's wait and see what happens. They'd get themselves in a bigger bind. Then they'd say, uh-oh, I got to, you know, call Mark. And then things would get bigger. And to alleviate the problem and talking to them for a while, we decided to set up a shop where we ask that we become your in-house counsel, but you farm it out to my law firm. And so for a flat monthly fee, we give you access to legal counsel, much like bigger companies have as full-time lawyers next to the CEO. We'll do the same thing, become part of your management team and help reduce those costs and limit liability.
Yeah, but you do that at obviously a much more reduced rate, and because it's done virtually, and you're working for several companies, not just one.
Yeah, it's kind of like an insurance policy. Sometimes you use us more, sometimes you don't use us at all, but we're there.
Gotta love that. All right, talk a little bit about what you think is apropos for us this time of year.
Yeah, well, toward the end of the year, we typically talk with our clients, and I know we've mentioned this before in years past in your show, about their entity. Is it working out? How's it going? You know, typically they're doing some tax planning. Hopefully the clients are getting bigger. They're talking to their CPAs, and they're realizing maybe the entity they chose a year ago, months ago, several years ago isn't working out. Or they have some contracts that aren't quite up to snuff, and they're realizing, hey, I got to change these. Or, this is what happens a lot of times, people took a contract or document they found online or from a previous employer, they tweaked it up late at night on their own, and they're using it, and then they came into a bind with something. Toward the end of the year, we usually ask clients to look at that entity and look at whatever contracts they've been using to make sure it fits the business as it's morphed from its inception. Mm-hmm. And so we've spent a lot of time going over that with our clients.
Very good. Tell me where people should start. It sounds like it'd almost be appropriate this time of the year to almost create a checklist.
Yeah, for sure. A lot of times, you know, most companies who are getting bigger are dealing with the CPA, and the CPA might say, hey, guys, you've now gotten a little bit bigger, and because of this entity type, you're facing this kind of a tax bill. And normally, you know, the client's eyes get real big and go, well, what do I do? And then the CPA might offer some advice like, well, change this partnership to a C corporation. If you're in a C corporation, then you can do these kind of things. There'll be that kind of discussion. Well, the CPA is not one to actually draft those documents, set up the entity. That's my job. And so hopefully there's been a relationship with your CPA and my law firm where there's contact. And once the green light's given by the owner, we'll do the documents, we'll talk with the CPA, we'll try to change things so that by the end of the year we can have a change in whatever entity, whatever structure. And that's going to save the client money. It happens all the time where they'll see, hey, I might be facing a $100,000 tax bill, but if I change this, move that, convert to this, I might only have a $10,000 tax bill. Well, guess what? The client's going to do it, and we're going to help them make it happen.
Mm-hmm. Very good. Some other items for people to think about.
Yeah, the other thing that they do is we'll look at their contracts, and so if they're a vendor to somebody or a supplier or selling widgets or services, that document they're using, you know, a lot of times people will look at things on LegalZoom or something on the internet, and it might work generally, but now that their company's gotten a little bit bigger, a little more sophisticated, they'll need specific language to suit their needs, or if they're subs, they got to make sure their contracts mirror the general contractor's language, or if they're getting a product from somebody else and they're providing it to an end user, they want to make sure there's pass-through language in there and protections. And so we'll look through whatever documents they're using, we'll offer suggestions, and most of the time or oftentimes we'll redraft things for them. And in the long run, it's going to save the customer money, so the little bit they spend now will save loads later.
Yeah, no question about it. And, obviously time frame wise, you're talking about end of year. It's probably smart to try to set up a time with an attorney before January 1, if possible.
Yeah, definitely. Most of the times we can get things done before year's end. You'll save money and you'll have a better way to bring in the new year so you understand what structure is there. And next year probably will be a lot better. So, yeah, we do ask for these things to be happening now. And, if there is a change in the entity, it's not something that we do in 10 minutes. It's typically a few conversations with the owner, a few conversations with CPAs, your bean counters, go over the numbers, and then we put together the structure, we put together the documents and make the filing. It's a week or two process at least, but in the long run it's going to save, money.
Yeah, no question about it. So, when it comes to, other areas of priority that people tend to ignore or miss, but really should keeping a close eye on, what are some of those things that come to mind?
Most of the time it's liabilities. And most business owners, whether they're providing a service or a widget, they don't really think about that kind of stuff. They don't really think, hey, if I do this right now, what's the impact in 6 months? What's the impact in a year? Well, how about 2 years from now? How is all that really going to play out? And that's what we do. We really do want to get involved, kind of understand the business model, where they want it to go, what's currently being used, so that we can limit those liabilities long term, because I'm sure you've heard it with your clients or people who listen to the show. Most people are worried about today, tomorrow, and probably next week and making payroll. Mm-hmm. It's very, very short term. We think much more long term because those liabilities can affect things in the future, and if in the future there's going to be a problem, it could shut down the business.
No question about that. That's pretty frightening stuff. Well, you say by the end of the year you can typically do it. We've got about 6 weeks left in the end of the year. So realistically, they need to get into you by when in order to be, or to an attorney, if not you, an attorney. When do they need to get in there by?
I would say third quarter. By the third quarter, people have looked at their numbers in the first 2 quarters, have analyzed how things are going, what kind of profits are coming in, and sort of analyzing end-of-year tax bills. How do I spend money to limit those tax bills? What can I do so that come January we can operate, in a different structure? So I would say by third quarter, be in that law firm's office, be discussing things with your CPA. By fourth quarter, get those documents done, get those contracts reviewed, get all that finished by Christmas, because as you know, once Thanksgiving's here, the business world ends until January.
Mm-hmm. All right, his name's Marc Krasney. He's with the Krasney Law Firm. That's KrasneyLawFirm.com, Krasney. And Marc, as always, delighted to have you on the program.
Thanks, Kevin. Great show.
You bet. When we come back, much more for you. Do want to remind you, best content here shows up over there at USDataReview.com, and this is The Price of Business.